Welcome everyone to PMI North India chapter webinar series. Today's webinar is how to add value in project management role. This program will entitle you with one video. The video information will be shared towards end of the webinar. Today's presenter is Anju Agarwal. Anju is a certified PMP professional and Scrum Master with over 20 years of experience in information technology, developing and managing mid and large size IT projects programs involving distributed teams across various industries and clients in Asia, US, UK, and Europe. She has an extensive software design and development experience of over a decade on various platforms and technologies. She is now managing client accounts in artificial intelligence and machine learning domain for the healthcare industry. At present, she is in a senior management role with a US-based healthcare company and working on devising the strategy for business growth and transformation. She is Masters in Computer Application and alumnus of Indian Institute of Management, Indore. She is an active contributor to project management forums. Her articles have also been frequently published in various project management journals. Over to you, Anju. Thank you for taking out time and enlightening us with your thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rakesh, and thank you, PMI North India chapter as well, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. So, hello and welcome to all the attendees, participants of this webinar. I hope that with this webinar, you would be able to learn something useful and would also be able to apply it in your work life so that it can justify the 1 hour that you spent with me today on this Saturday. So let me start first with a very short snippet about the origin of this webinar. Some time back, I had written an article titled What is Not Project Management? And it was also published in the PMI magazine. This webinar is an extension of that article where I've tried to talk about some PM roles which should not be considered as PM role as they dilute the PM's authority and responsibility. Also, I'll be talking about some best practices which can help you shine in the PM role and eventually make you a valuable asset in your organization. So let's start. Let's start first with the challenge that some of us PM face in this industry. And this is the survey done by the PMI Pulse of the Profession in the year 2018. According to this, about 42% of organizations, they do not value or understand the value of project management. And I'll share my experience here. As given in my introduction, I work with a startup technology healthcare company. While writing the business proposals, the sales team, they do not account for a project manager. They just talk about data scientists and data engineers. And to make it even worse, the potential customer, with just few exceptions, they do not even ask for a project manager from the vendor side. I feel that the project manager role is mostly considered as an overhead, and in order to minimize the project cost, it is cut down from the proposal stage itself. And in some bigger organizations, I've seen that project manager is considered second to a chief architect and is often sidelined in important project decisions. So what happens if you're working for such organization? You have no authority. As a project manager, you get stuck either voluntarily or involuntarily into a side role where you just sit quietly in your corner, create to-dos, and do not bother anyone. So let's take a step back here and understand as what could be the reasons of this devaluation of PM role. If every one of us understands the meaning, responsibilities, and definition of this PM role, And if every one of us or most of us knows about PMBOK and other associated PM guidelines, which talks in so much detail about the PM responsibility as well as the importance of PM role. So now I would like to take a short poll to discuss like what could be the reasons of this devaluation. And I have put some reasons on my own according to me, which could be the cause of this devaluation, and let me elaborate a bit on each of them. The first is non-existing culture, where only the technical work is considered as real work and PM work is reduced to trivial documentation work, which can be done by anyone. Second is a lack of directions for PM, where they are neither made accountable nor held responsible for their project. And third is the firefighting culture, where only things get done and recognized or acknowledged only when they become very, very, very urgent, which implicitly means there's no project management at all. And fourth is none of the above. In case you think there are more reasons that are not covered in the first three options, then feel free to choose that as well. So you would have seen that this poll has come up on your screen. So I would request you to please take a poll and then let's discuss the results. And I'll give you around 15-20 seconds to cast this poll. So let's do it and I'll come back in 20 seconds. Okay. And I'm back. I hope all of you have casted your poll. And Rakesh, if you can please close this poll and let us know the results, please. Okay, so there's a tie between A and B, which is the lack of directions for PM and non-existing PM culture, followed by firefighting culture. And one person has also opted for none of the above. So please feel free to put that reason in the chat or Q&A thing window so I can look at it after this webinar. So the objective of this webinar is to check whether this is me talking to myself or this is something which is also kind of seen or observed by people in my community. So when I look at it, like if I see there are around 10 people who have actually, or yes, 8 people who have actually kind of agreed to this, that this devaluation is there. So this actually validates and gives a proof that we are talking about the right problem today. So now let's also talk about the right solution for this problem. So let's move on. Before that, let's just see where we left. So we left it here where organizations do not value the project managers and subsequently the project managers do not have any authority. So what happens? What happens if these two things are playing the role? In today's world, there's more emphasis on agility, automation, cost cutting. It is very important to show the benefit you bring to your organization and to your team in the PM role. Project managers are supposed to be leaders, facilitators, and advisor and advocate, not only for the project, but for the team, for the business, and the cause. However, clients and stakeholders, they tend to see project managers as utility people and not as leaders. And this utility can easily be made redundant or replaced by a junior team member. So, and the project managers, they do not deserve to be here. They deserve to be here, which is like they should be considered as the most valued employee in their organization. You need to prove your worth and the value add you bring to the company so that it increases your employer's return on investment or ROI on hiring you. Employees who knows how to add value to their job, they tend to command higher salaries, better job opportunities, and more exciting projects. Companies value people like this so much that they can do everything possible to retain that person, even in the event of recession, layoff, or merger. So how do we become that MV in our organization? And this is what I'll be talking about in my talk today. For that, we need to unfollow some roles and follow some rules. We need to unfollow some roles which are now mistakenly considered as the core competency of a project manager. And I'll say this message again and again, that the roles that we'll be seeing in the subsequent slides that I'll be asking you to unfollow, these roles can be considered as part of the PM role, but not as the primary PM role. Use your knowledge and experience on things that can justify your position in the team as a leader. Do not waste all your energy and hence your visibility in doing routine and rudimentary stuff. And also we need to follow some rules which can bring that value and recognition in your PM role. So let's discuss each of these sections one by one, and let's start first with the unfollow. Administrators, order takers, dev, micromanagers, all these are supplementary roles which are now considered as PM primary role. So the intent for a project manager or goal for the project manager should be to work more on the strategical side rather than on the operational side. And let's take a very, very quick refresher on the word strategical and operational in context of a project. Strategical ensures task ensure that the project it delivers real value against the business opportunity and not just concerned about the iron triangle. Operational work is necessary, but then it can be automated or delegated to your team members. For example, creating weekly status reports, team building activities, task reminders. The objective should be to work more on the project rather than in the project. Generally, what most of us PM do is tactical thinking, which help us accomplish our day-to-day task, but which leads to short-term goals. Tactical thinking is necessary, but then we may lose sight of bigger picture. It is like someone walking in a maze who failed to see the patterns, but just concentrates on moving left and right as per the directions given. So now let's talk about each of these roles as well. So first rule that we should unfollow is administrators, and all these things, task coordinators, email champions, document gurus are actually some of the categories I've tried to put under this rule. When participants in an assessment exercise were asked as to define what the project managers do, their perception uniformly was that they're responsible for filling out forms, getting approvals, booking meetings, making minutes, or in other words, project managers seems to be equivalent to executive assistants rather than leaders. And all these categories will actually justify this perception. So now let's talk about the first one, which is task coordinators. These kind of PMs, they come into action just a day before the status weekly meeting, where they send an email to their team members and ask for the progress for their task, which they dutifully compile into a report for their top management. They'll not ask for the reasons from the team member side for the delay on their part. They'll just act as a messenger of good or bad news for their senior management. In one of a book, project managers were portrayed as journalists who are so focused on accurately reporting the news, the detail in the report, the color of the report, the cadence of the report, that they completely lose sight of why we are doing this project and how is success defined. Recently, I worked with a technical project manager, TPM from the vendor side. The only time when this person's name was called was to set up a meeting between his team and my team. During the 4 months that I worked with him, I only received email from him only on 2 occasions. One was that meeting invite, and second was asking about the agenda for that meeting. I felt that this person has wholeheartedly accepted this task coordinator role, as he never made any attempt to show his visibility in other areas. So it seemed to me that in his organization, TPMs are equivalent to administrators. Now, the next one is email champions. These kind of PMs, they are very prompt in responding quickly to emails because they believe in getting things done by email. But things do not get done only by emails. And these project managers can come back to us with the statistics that 90% of project manager time is spent on communication. But then they need to be corrected that this percentage is not just email communication. It can be in any other form as well, like active listening, team meetings, presentations. Project managers, they need to get out from behind their desk. So do not be an email PM, as this is not project management. One of my colleague is very addicted in reverting to emails, and no matter, even if that person's name is in the CC address list, you'll still receive a revert from her. And then she also complains that her team members are not responding to her messages. Sometimes it is much quicker to pick up a phone, to do a conference call, or meet face to face to resolve your queries with the team. We need to be project champions and not email champions. The third category is document gurus. They believe in creating project documents at every step. They'll write user stories, they'll create task boards as per the standards specified in any one of the PM coursebook. But then they'll not know anything beyond this document, from beyond the project. They'll not know anything about the project beyond these documents, neither about the project progress nor about the project vision. So do not be a paper project manager. Do not fall into the trap of spending all your time in writing project documents and neglecting your other duties and responsibilities. In today's world, there are better mechanisms to capture this information than to waste the time of a highly paid project manager in taking notes. Some years back, I worked with a person who was very good in writing user stories. She joined our team as a project manager. After our first meeting, she sent out user stories listing all the requirements in an agile template specifying who, what, and why. It was pretty impressive and detailed. But in the subsequent meeting, I observed that she is only contributing to writing and modifying these user stories. Beyond that, she was not interested in doing anything else. So I concluded that she must be the follower of this document guru role, who thinks that project manager's work starts and ends with documentation. Now, moving on to the next role which we should unfollow is order takers. They simply fulfill any or every order from their stakeholders. But simply fulfilling all orders from customers might be risky, because what customer asks might not be what they need or can benefit by fulfilling those orders. Another risk is that your activities are controlled by ad hoc orders from your customers, and you lose the control of your team's momentum and would be resigned to play the catch the deadline game every time. Now let's talk about each of these categories. First is blind followers. They simply take orders from their stakeholders and execute them. But then you also need to handle all the internal and external risk in your project proactively, rather than just to take orders and execute them and then wait for the next orders from your senior management. I know a person whom I consider as the best follower I've ever seen in my professional life. Some months back, we asked her to create a report on all the project customer requested features in her project. She created a report as per our expectations. But when we looked at the report, we realized that it is not giving true representation of the data. So we asked her to make some more changes. And this went on for about 3 to 4 iterations. And where she dutifully made all the changes and then waited on us to give her more instructions on improvement with zero input from her side on the report, which was about her project. So she became my inspiration for this blind follower category. If a project manager becomes a blind follower to someone like a tech lead or a sponsor or a customer, there are very high chance that the project will be doomed. Now, going to the next category, which is no-phobic. These kind of project managers, they accept or agree to every change request immediately. But then you need to add value as a project manager, including pushing back when client asks something which is not right. If client requests for something which is out of scope, you also need to invoke the scope change management process. But if your response to scope change requests are, yes, sir, we'll do it, instead of invoking the scope change management process, you might be asking for future trouble. Lately, we did a postmortem of a project which was abruptly ended by a customer. We found that this project has about 50% increase in scope while the timelines remain the same. So when we checked with the project manager, he mentioned that he agreed to all these change requests as he thought that they were useful additions from the customer. And he also assumed that customer would automatically understand that this would also change the timelines. So this project manager never made a formal change request to extend the timelines. So in the end, our organization had to pay the price of this no-phobic project manager in terms of a lost customer and a demotivated team. The third category under this is people pleaser. And as the name suggests, they try to please everyone. But it is an impossibility to please everyone all the time. These kind of PMs are afraid of confronting or putting their foot down in front of a client or senior management. But if you're trying to please the entire stakeholder community, it will drain and deflate you. Agreeing to everything from stakeholders might make them happy for a shorter time, but in the long run, you will see dissatisfied customers and demotivated team members. In my organization, there's a project manager who got promoted from the tech lead position. He's responsible for all the customer side deployment of the product as well as work on the new features for that product. It was all working very well when there were just 1 or 2 customer side deployments, but lately he's facing a lot of challenges in adhering to his timelines. He tries to please all his customer by agreeing to all their customized requests for customized deployments. He also agrees to all the new feature requests from the product manager. And he also tries to fit in the new features recommended by his dev team who find some cutting edge technology for features for the product. So as a result, nothing is moving at a right pace. Customers get blocked due to deployment delays. There has not been any new new product release since the last 6 months. And his team members are mostly struggling to prioritize their tasks. So we see that people pleaser can make people happy for a shorter time, but ultimately their boundaries get stretched, and the same people who consider them as rock star will start to see their flaws. And now the next role, or rather roles, that we should unfollow is developer and micromanager. Now, this developer is more common term used in IT industry, but for other industry, you can consider it as equivalent to someone who does like more hands-on work, or the work that you were doing before you were promoted to the project manager role. So the problem that occurs while when we ask a project manager to also wear a developer hat, they can be number of problems. Some of them are conflict of interest or diluted responsibilities, because people tend to gravitate to what they do best. Whereas micromanagement, it steals a project manager's precious time, which should be spent on motivating the team and keeping the project on track. Now, let's talk about developer first. If you ask someone to be both a developer and a project manager, they'll choose one as a primary work mode over the other. They may choose to be a developer first and project manager second, but then in that case, they'll be largely unavailable to their team and to the customers. So the entire project will suffer from lack of leadership. Or they may choose to be a project manager first and developer second, but in that case, the development tasks that they assign to themselves is largely unlikely to be completed on time. In most of the cases, management of the project does not spare time to do development. And this is especially true in a large or complex project. If you were a techie, which I was also, consider that this is no longer your role. Leave it to your project team members. And if you really want to be a developer, stop being a project manager or pursue it in your own time. Here, I would like to quote my example. 10 years back, when I was trying to switch from development side to the management side, I wanted to sail in both the boats. I wanted to stick to development side because this was what I had been doing for last few years and I was delivering results. And I also wanted to sail in that management boat because this is where I wanted to move my career. So instead of spending my time on tracking the project, I was spending it on doing code reviews and resolving the technical issues faced by my team. Now, this was causing multiple problems. First, my team members, they stopped stretching themselves in resolving the technical issues because I was doing their work. Second, my supervisor had to put up with my incomplete or incorrect status reports. And third, the stress to manage everything was taking a toll on my health. And the stress started spilling into my personal life as well. Now, after these, when I look back now, after these 10 years, I feel that my work life is much more sorted by detaching completely from the development side. Now I let my team members resolve the technical issues, but here I add value by connecting them to the experts, because now I have more visibility to different projects and teams across my organization. And now let's talk about micromanagers. These kind of people, they jump in to solve every technical issues as and when it comes up. These kind of project managers, they do not mean ill, but then they tend to go to that extra mile to look into each task of their team members, and not even a single detail is spared. These kind of project managers, they do not mean ill, but even though even though the project manager with domain experience is advantageous, but becoming invasive and mixing the project manager job with that of a technical expert can lead to micromanagement. Ultimately, a project manager's job is to keep an eye on the big picture and to ensure that all the puzzle pieces are falling in place. But this is going to be pretty tough to do if you are too consumed into the minutiae of the day-to-day tasks. And to quote an example, there's a person in my team who is in my organization who is very, very technically competent. And I consider him like many level above his team members in terms of his technical knowledge. So when I attend this project's product backlog grooming session, the discussion always drift to implementation of the task and not they don't discuss like why and when this task should be completed. So in the end, there is never a prioritized product backlog. There's a gap in which the tasks are chosen to implement versus the ones which are needed for the customer. Because the project manager always focuses on the implementation details rather than the value add for the customer. So this brings an end to all our unfollow roles and their subsequent categories as well. And now I would like to take another poll, since after looking at all those roles as well as categories, if you are working in your organization and playing this role as primary PM responsibility, please note that I'm talking about primary, which means if you are only doing work which are mentioned in those roles as a PM, then you can choose yes. Otherwise, please choose no. And now, as earlier, I'll take another pause for 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds, so you can cast that poll and I can take a water break. So I'll come back in 20 seconds. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I can still see a few unsubmitted poll options. Everyone, please select a poll option.
Yeah, so please, if you can see the poll, if you could please answer this poll, it will be great. I mean, you would see one from my side, Rakesh. I haven't casted that poll.
Sure, that's expected. I think we got everyone.
Okay, so let's end the results and let's see the results, Rakesh. Okay, so like it's 63%, 62% is yes, and three of you have actually said no. And this is a repeat of what I saw in my earlier webinar as well. So it's a bit discouraging because it seems that many of us are like majority of us are playing the role which is like secondary responsibilities and not as something which is actually the part of project management. So it is discouraging because this means that the situation is not very good for project managers, and we really need to fix it. But nevertheless, knowing a problem is half the solution, half the way to solution, and we'll try to fix it, and let's see how to fix it, and let's see the solution for this as well. But before that, thank you so much for putting up your honest opinion there. And now let's move on. But before that, after looking at all these unfollow the role slides, you might come back with a question that these are the roles, responsibilities asked by market and the top management. So what is the harm in fulfilling these roles? After all, we should go with the current market trends and demands and accordingly adapt our roles. A one-line answer to this is not project management. I forgot to open my video. The one-line answer to this is not project management, period. You might have succeeded in sailing your project boat in all these roles, but someday your boat will sink. If a more complex or aggressive project comes your way and you are required to show more control, or if a more hands-on project manager joins and is able to show better results than you, or if some organizational changes happen and you are made redundant because there are already many other people doing the same work as you. So how do we ensure that we justify project management role and knowingly or unknowingly do not fall back into these non-pivot roles? The answer is to follow. We need to follow some rules to bring the value add to the PM role in our organization. So now let's move on to these rules. These are the 4 rules that we should follow, and we'll discuss them in more details. As a project manager, you have the power to apply your skills and knowledge in a way that uses the project management principles in your work and helps selling PM to the senior management. But before we talk about these rules, there might be situations which are beyond your control, where you have to comply with those earlier not so project management rules. But in those cases also, you can bring the success and visibility to yourself and to the organization. First and foremost, do not stop your learning. Learn the domain and provide your valuable inputs to the project requirement. Or understand the organization ecosystem and help management in taking business decisions. Work to get recognized by your stakeholders or executive as a useful person, as a most important person. So now let's talk about each of these rules. First is to become an expert. The foremost thing, and which goes for every other profession as well, is to have the proper knowledge of that stream, the knowledge of project management principles and practices. And all the things on the right hand side are actually some ways that I would like to suggest to excel in that role. The first is learning on the job, which is still the most hot or rather cool thing to do. There are some things which are practically impossible to learn unless you actually do them. And to a large extent, project management is also one of them. Nothing can replace, no amount of training or education can replace this on-the-job learning. There are some soft skills which are pretty hard to be taught in the classroom environment. For example, like delegating, negotiating, managing up, selecting the right team, responding to change. Almost all the most of the hard skills can be mastered in few years, but most of us can continue to cultivate, grow, and refine our interpersonal skills for the rest of our career. The second way to become an expert is to learn from other project managers. Seek professional development through webinars, blog posts, online courses, project management networks, to understand as how other project managers are successfully executing or managing their teams, scope, time, and budget. Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. This is a quote by Harry S. Truman, a former US president. So get inside the heads of those world-class project managers through reading project management books. The third way is to volunteer. Nothing helps in gain knowledge as effectively as sharing it with others. Volunteering can help. You can gain by sharing experience with your colleagues and also developing and mastering your skills in a friendly way, a friendly environment. Volunteering helps you make new friends, expand your network, and boost your social skills. The fourth way to become an expert is to stay up to date on trends. PM field is rapidly changing like any other fields. Experts, they always stay on the forefront. They learn the new trends and understand where their industry is headed. These new trends can also shape and enhance their existing rules. There are few people who tries to stop these waves of progress, but experts, they absorb the knowledge, and when appropriate, they ride those waves to success. Now, the next rule that we would like to follow is to practice. Knowledge is of no use unless you put it into practice. Gaining knowledge is half the battle won. The other half comes through extensive practice and feedback. Becoming an expert requires a sincere and genuine desire to do the work. But when you are practicing your PM knowledge, always remember that you might need to customize some processes. There might be situations where you're not able to completely adapt the PM knowledge into your project, and which is okay, because there are always some customizations needed as per the project and the organization environment. Project manager should be able to assess the project and then select the specific process, just say pick the processes for customization or tailoring for the project success. The third rule to follow is to share. You need to share your success stories that support the project management discipline with different groups. So the first you can do is to share it with your peers and senior management, so they can also see the value add and can also carry forward your learnings into their respective groups. A common rule of any skill is that if you're not able to teach it to others, you're not good enough to be called a subject matter expert of that skill. Your project becomes a proof of concept and example of effective project management. The second way is to show and tell. You need to continuously show how the project management is adding value to the processes, how it is impacting the organizational strategy. You need to show it to the right people in the organization so that the key personnel, they begin to take project management seriously. They might not agree with you upfront, but if you consistently and persistently share your work along with the associated quantifiable results, you'll be surprised to see that your knowledge, best practices, behavior will soon be picked up by your peers, by your team members, and even the senior management. And the next rule is become a strategic business partner. And I'll just take a 10-second break because I need to drink water. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So let's continue. The next rule to follow is to be a strategic business partner. And now what I'm going to say is very important. Senior management are realizing that strategies are mostly executed through projects. So project managers, they should look at it as a huge opportunity to act strategically and add value to their role. They should play a stronger role in executing the organization strategy. Project managers should have necessary insights and discipline to learn to understand the organizational strategy and then connect it with what they do. Work to get recognized by your business people as an indispensable strategic partner. Now, the different ways that I can share for you to become a strategic business partner are: first is to learn the domain. Every organization has its strengths and weaknesses. By understanding the operational weaknesses, the project manager can suggest the potential solution. Learn what makes your company tick and what gets into the way of its ticking. Know how different parts are operating together, and again, what gets into the way of its smooth operation. And be able to articulate your understanding. Stop thinking about just your individual project and start to think as how your project is playing a role in the organizational strategy. Pay attention to the business environment surrounding your company as well as your project. Only then you'll be able to think as how your project is working or not working within the organizational strategy. The second way is to provide feedback. or to be helpful in a big way. Help your line business people in your organization meet their goals. Either do something within your project so that it can make it easier for your supervisor to easier for your supervisor to do their work, or share ideas based on your true knowledge or your real knowledge of the business, so that it makes it easier for them to do so that they can do their work more easily and quickly. If good thing happens to the business because of you involved in the project, you will be invited back. The third way is to help management. And for this, you need to get out of your box. If you always look at what your company needs from the perspective of your own functions, like your IT, sales, marketing, or whatever it is, you will be looked as tactical at best. Step back and think as what would best serve the business overall. Speak from that vantage point. Hold yourself accountable to represent the company's interest, especially when they conflict with yours. And you will be seen as a real asset to any organization level discussion. The project manager role has now expanded to a strategic advisor, communicator, innovator, big thinker, and a versatile manager. So you need to wear all these hats in the PM role to become that MVE, the most valued employee in your organization. And this actually concludes all the roles and rules that I wanted to share with you to bring that value add in the role. But before I conclude, I would request all of you to take a pledge by all the people who are directly or indirectly playing the role of project management manager in their organization. Because project managers, they now carries an extra responsibility to inform, to educate, and demonstrate the worthiness of project management. And this is needed not just because as a PMP, you are bound by a code of professional conduct to advance the project management profession, but this is also needed because if you do not bring out the true value of project management, sooner or later you will be displaced by a better coordinator, better emailer, or a better communicator, or a better documenter. So let's not cut corners and follow the easy path that was shown in the earlier unfollow role slide, but instead take a pledge. Take a pledge to be a project manager in true sense that complies with all the facets of this profession and shows utmost value and respect to this profession. So this brings an end, and I hope that you have taken this virtual pledge with me. So I'll end my presentation, and thank you so much for listening so far. These are my coordinates. Feel free to connect with any ideas, thoughts, or questions, and I'll be happy to answer. And now if we have time, we can also take more questions from this audience as well. So over to you, Rakesh.
Thank you. Thank you, Anju. That was an awesome session, and the insights shared were truly awesome.
Thank you.
People, if you have any questions, you can post those into Q&A session, and we have the PD information already captured on the screen, so you may capture those as well. I can see a few questions already coming in. So first one is from Yogesh Joshi. How to control scope creeping by customers?
So this is a very apt question, because this is what I'm currently doing in my project, or trying to do in my project. So Yogesh, there's not one size fits all solution to it. I'll say the only best thing is to communicate. So whenever you see this scope creep coming, bring your sponsor in your confidence. Always, like for example, in my case, I'm sending weekly reports, and every weekly report I'm sending that there's a scope creep and we are working on this particular function or a feature which is not there in the scope of work. So that's my one of my way. And then in every milestone meeting, every meeting I do reiterate that there's a scope creep. Unfortunately, as my organization is small, I cannot just step down, put my foot down and say that I can't continue. And I'm sure this will happen in other organization as well. So the only option that I can tell you is to communicate this to your sponsors. Keep your team members in confidence, because they'll raise their their concern or their dissatisfaction that they're working on something which is extra. So try to communicate everyone. Try whenever you are meeting with your client customer, do explain them this is a scope creep and this could be the impact and these are the impacts. So, and rest, just communicate more and more. That's how I am solving it, had been solving it for the past few years, and that's how I'll suggest as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Anju. I have another question for Sudhir Ahuja.
Mm-hmm.
What is industry-wide benchmark for how much percentage PM effort is required versus overall project effort?
So, I mean, since I've mostly worked in IT industry, I'll tell you like my what I have seen. So generally, like I've been like now looking into project proposal as well. Like I'm also writing or I'm reviewing those project proposals. So what I've seen is uh, we keep about like I'm talking about 3 months project, R&D project. We keep about 20% of time as a project manager's effort on that particular project. And this is not like 20% like across consistently. So for example, during the first month, there is a lot more effort from the project manager side, because you have to build the processes, you have to set up that communication protocol, and generally you get a new team which have not worked earlier, so you have to build that team cohesiveness as well. And I've seen that like in my 3 months project, generally 1 month there are more hiccups or blockers or ups and downs, and after that it just it subsides. So first month I'll say I put like 50% of my time on that particular project, and then in the next 2 months it's just 10 to 15%, where if some escalation come, I just handle it. But otherwise it goes smoothly if I'm able to save it in my first month. Generally building that relationship and trust, it goes smoothly. So to your question, around 20% of time we give, or efforts we give for the project managers on a project. Thank you. Any other questions? Can you hear me?
How a PM, we have another question from Yogesh Joshi. How a
Okay.
PM to keep himself always motivated? So yeah, there is always like, he needs to motivate his team members, but I think this question comes in from a different angle.
And I totally agree with him, with Yogesh, that there are time, and I'm not sure, Yogesh, you are thinking the same thing, but as a PM, actually, you are seen as supporting role. So, I mean, that's what I've seen since I work with a technology company. So all the work, all the good work, everything is, it's more visible that a developer has done it, that a data scientist has done some magic, a data engineer has done some magic. But project manager role is mostly it's hidden if in a successful project, because they're supposed to facilitate and they're supposed to ensure that everything is working smoothly. But if you ask a project manager, what have you done quantitatively, you cannot see the results. You can just see it's successful or unsuccessful. If it's successful, it's because of the team members. If it's unsuccessful, it's because of the project manager. So that's the dilemma, and that's you have to take it as a pinch of salt, because we are into this in this profession, and we know that we are always on the behind the scenes. So if you accept this thing, and I mean, for me it's I would always look that we have to be successful, the project has to be successful, the team has to be successful, We need to get repeat customers. We need to get repeat projects. So that's how I keep myself motivated. And team members, I mean, if you are motivated, you can actually spread that particular emotions to your team as well. Then it doesn't get difficult. So first of all, motivate yourself, and then it comes very naturally. And team members also get charged up whenever they see you as totally in the control or totally passionately doing the project. I mean, according to me, that feeling that spreads. So keep yourself motivated. Always trying to read good books, and always think yourself that you are an important part of the project, even though if sometimes you are not acknowledged. Just think that you are, I mean, that you are the kind of glue to this whole project to bring this to success. So always keep that in mind, and then try to keep yourself motivated, and to the team as well. I hope that this will work. Let me know if it doesn't work and you'll find something else. Thank you.
Thanks, Yogesh. Thanks, Anju. We have one more question, and this could probably be our last one. Question is from Vineet Kumar. How to change organization culture with culture makes you to non-project management roles or contaminate PM role? Any recommendation to deal with this kind of situation?
Yes, Vineet, I can understand it, and I've heard this question from many people, and I'll say I think some point of time you do face this kind of situation. So because the organization culture is like that, like I had put all those two three options where there's a firefighting culture or no PM culture. So it's a long journey. So first, I mean, I will give. I mean, I suggest that first of all, you need to build that trust with your senior manager. So, and then obviously whatever you are given, you should do it at your as at the best, even if it's not actually complying with your project management rules and aspiration. Do that work to the maximum satisfaction. This will help build that trust with your supervisor, and then try to find some opportunities uh, around your project, around your company, which will actually elevate your work as well, and which will actually be beneficial for the organization as well. So try to find those opportunities. Try to, if something come, try to jump into it, try to take it, be more proactive, and side by side build that trust and confidence with your supervisor as well. And I'm sure, because this is what I have also followed in my current organization, I'm sure you will be able to to map with what you actually want to do. Maybe not exactly, but at least you will be out from that role, that particular work which you think is demeaning or contaminating your PM role. So my mantra to use is proactively look for for opportunities within your company, build trust with your supervisor, and suggest him or her some options, useful options, because eventually they also need to show the results to their senior management. So if you help them succeed doing some other things, they'll trust you, and will assign you some the things that you think are more aligned to your role. And if all this what I've said in this 2-3 minutes, if all this still doesn't work, then I think it's after you try a lot, after you give all your hard sweat and work to it, then maybe it's time to move out. Maybe you can look for other options as well. That's, I think, my suggestion.
Thanks, Anju. And I think, yeah, Vineet has mentioned, key is the, work with your management, senior management, help them sync with what you're doing, and they'll help you do better.
Yep.
With all that, I think that brings to end of the webinar. Thank you, Anju, once again for enlightening us with your thoughts and bringing this to us and taking out your time, precious time, and sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, all the attendees and everyone for your time.
Thank you everyone. And yes, feel free to ask any questions and good luck with the project management. Thank you.